Alright, so Apple just unveiled the brand new M5 MacBook Air. And if you just look at it, well, it looks exactly like the last one. But that's not the real story here. The important stuff, the part that really matters, is all happening under the hood. So let's dive in and see what Apple's really been cooking up. Seriously, you could walk into an Apple store right now and you'd be forgiven for not even noticing there's a new model. But this is a classic case of don't judge a book by its cover. What we're looking at is basically an internal revolution, just wrapped in a very, very familiar package. The big question is, are the changes on the inside actually worth it?
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about that familiar design. Then, we get to the star of the show, the M5 chip itself. After that, we'll cover the other upgrades you'll actually feel day to day. We'll also ground the hype a bit and look at what hasn't changed before we get to the new price and a potential performance problem. And finally, we'll give you the verdict on who this laptop is really for.
Okay, let's start with that feeling of déjà vu. I'm calling this the story of an internal revolution, because while the outside is totally predictable, the inside, well, that's a whole different story.
And let's be super clear here. When I say unchanged, I mean nothing about the physical design has changed. The dimensions, the weight, the ports, even the colors. It's all identical to the laptop that first came out way back in 2022. It's still super thin, super light, you get the picture.
And, this is starting to become a thing. Critics are pointing this out, and PC Mag puts it perfectly. The design is great, no doubt, but 5 generations is a long time for any laptop to go without a refresh. Some are starting to feel like the classic look is getting just a little bit stale. But now, let's get to the main event. Let's pop the hood and unpack the new engine, because the M5 chip is really where Apple poured all its energy for this release.
So what is the M5, really?
Well, it's a 10-core CPU, but the magic is all in that next-gen GPU. You've got enhanced shader cores for better graphics, a new ray tracing engine for super realistic lighting in games and 3D work, and, this is the big one, a dedicated Neural Accelerator in every single core. Just think of that as a little brain in each core that's built specifically for AI tasks, which makes them ridiculously fast.
And that AI focus brings us to the headline number. Apple is claiming the M5 is up to 4 times faster for AI-related tasks compared to the M4. This isn't just a small speed bump, you guys. This is Apple basically telling us they're building this machine to run some serious AI, probably right on the device instead of in the cloud.
So, what does that mean for stuff you actually do? Well, compared to the M4, you're looking at 3D rendering being 1.5 times faster. Image processing, same deal, a 1.5 times speed boost. And what about gaming? A 50% improvement. We're talking about going from 70 frames per second to a solid 100. That's a jump you can really feel. Of course, Apple's own hardware chief John Ternus is calling this a massive step up. The official company line is that the M5 brings a whole new level of performance and capability to what's already the most popular laptop in the world.
But you know what? The M5 isn't the whole story. There are a few other really key upgrades here that you will absolutely feel when you're using this thing every day. Okay, this one is a huge deal. Apple has finally doubled the base storage. The entry-level M5 Air now starts at 512 gigabytes. No more 256. If you've ever had that your disk is almost full warning pop-up, you know how massive this is.
And it's not just more storage, it's better storage. Apple says the new SSD is 2 times faster, which means opening big files or transferring photos is going to feel way snappier. You can also get up to 4 terabytes now, which is crazy. And you get future-proofed with the latest Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6. All right, we've talked about all the new goodies. Now let's pump the brakes a little bit, manage expectations, and take a look at everything that has stayed exactly the same.
Yeah, the core experience is pretty much what you remember. It's still got that totally silent fanless design. The Liquid Retina display is still gorgeous, but still no promotion for that ultra smooth scrolling. The great camera, that epic 18-hour battery life, and the 2 Thunderbolt ports, all of that is carried over from the last generation.
All right, now for the part of the story that might make you hesitate a little. There are 2 pretty big catches with this new model: the price and the potential for performance pressure.
Yep, the MacBook Air is no longer a sub-$1,000 machine. The new 13-inch model now starts at $1,099, which is a full $100 more than the M4 started at. Now, Apple will tell you the doubled storage justifies it, but still, it's a psychological line that's been crossed.
And that price hike leads to a really critical question. You've got this way more powerful M5 chip that's obviously going to generate more heat, but it's packed into the exact same thin, fanless body. So the question is, can this thing actually breathe when you start to push it? And this isn't just speculation.
9to5Mac makes a great point that even the M2 Air could get hot and start to slow down. That's what thermal throttling is, when you gave it a heavy workload. If Apple didn't change anything about the cooling, that problem could get even worse with a much more powerful M5. It's definitely something to think about if you do a lot of intense work.
So, with all of that on the table, let's bring it all together and try to figure out who should actually go out and buy this new M5 MacBook Air.
Here's a quick scorecard. In the pros column, you've got a huge performance leap with the M5, double the storage right out of the gate, a way faster SSD, and next-gen Wi-Fi. In the cons column, you've got that $100 price bump, the aging design, that potential for thermal throttling, and a display that, while great, is still missing ProMotion.
So who's this for? Look, if you're a student, a creative professional, or a business user who needs that perfect mix of power and go-anywhere portability, this thing is an absolute beast. And let's be real, if you're upgrading from an old Intel Mac or even an M1 Mac, the speed difference you're going to feel will be mind-blowing.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. With its new power and its new price, the MacBook Air has officially moved up market. So, is this now simply the best all-around Mac for pretty much everybody? Or is this price hike a calculated move by Apple to make room for something totally new at the entry level? That is the real question.